Girl writes a note to break up. Then she locked herself in a secret room and pretended to disappear, all to test her husband's love. But the girl was about to have a nightmare. The husband came home happy with flowers, but all he saw was the sad video. The man searches anxiously for his wife, but the woman smiles smugly in the secret room. It seems the husband still loves her very much, but the girl hadn't had enough. When the husband called, she deliberately didn't answer the phone to see his reaction, but she soon realized she was wrong. The man sat on the bed for a while. He suddenly smashed the flowers on the mirror in front of her. When the girl saw this scene, she finally realized that she had played a big game. She rushed to get the key to open the door to apologize to her husband. She searched through her backpack but couldn't find the key. After a long time, she thought of dropping the keys on the floor when she was carrying her bag. She was shocked and panicked. She didn't realize that the joke had turned into a crisis. She ran to her husband for help, but he couldn't see her, because the mirrors here are one way. She could only see out from the inside. The woman wanted to call her husband, but there's no mobile phone signal here. What's worse, the glass is bulletproof and soundproof. There's hardly any sound coming out of the glass when it's hit. It's impossible for her to break the barrier, and her husband doesn't even know there's a secret room in the house, because they rented the house. The landlady told the girl. The secret room was very well equipped. It's stocked with food and water. It's like a small bedroom. The family had built it to escape a disaster. The girl tried everything but she couldn't get out. She looked out at her sad husband who cared so much for her. The girl's heart felt so full of remorse. But soon, she realized she was wrong. Just a week later, her husband came back with a girl. The woman looked at them outside and saw that they were very much in love. She felt disappointed that her husband had abandoned her so quickly. She bangs on the glass, hoping that the other woman will hear her, but she soon stopped because it was all in vain. The woman calmed down and began to think of a way to escape. She got a spoon and chiseled the wall. She thought the wall was only 2 centimeters long, so it wouldn't be difficult to break through. But as she chiseled, she realized there was a steel plate inside. The woman was in despair. If she hadn't tested her husband, her marriage might have survived. Now she has to live like a rat in this dimly lit room. There's food, but it's expired over the years. Even the water is cloudy. In such an environment, she won't last long. The next morning, Linda looked at the girl in her nightgown. She couldn't help but shout her accusations that the girl was still using her toothbrush. It made Linda feel bitter inside. But the next second, the girl seemed to hear something. She pressed her head against the sink. The woman was as happy as if she had been born again. She called out to the tap again. When she sees a response, she increases her force, but her voice was hoarse. The girl suddenly ran back to brush her teeth. It was as if she'd heard it all in her head. She looks at the picture of herself and her husband and regrets it. Now even her toothbrush has been taken over. But she wasn't about to give up. Linda found a map in the secret room. There was a switch to control the temperature of the water outside. So Linda deliberately raised the temperature while the girl was bathing. The girl in the bath immediately broke down and cried. She almost laughed at the scene. The girl was also successfully lured to the pool, so she tried to shout at the tap again. This time, the girl finally realized something was wrong, but she was so frightened that she ran away. Then at night, the girl accidentally found a key dropped on the floor. Linda was thrilled to see it and thought she'd be saved, but the girl wore the key around her neck as a necklace. It's as if she's saying she owns the place. The next day, the husband received a call from the police. They found a woman who looked like Linda in the countryside. They asked him to go and take a look. The husband thought it was his wife. After the man left, the girl smiled triumphantly in the mirror. Then she filled the sink with water. The woman read her words. Then she struck it with a stick as hard as she could. The pool rippled. Now the girl was convinced that someone was trapped. She had only guessed, but what she saw just now convinced her. In order to dispel her doubts, she decided to test it again. Started. The woman immediately tapped on the water pipe. Stop. The girl calls out Linda's name. It turns out they knew each other before and were on good terms. After receiving an affirmative answer, the girl started to try to rescue her, but the mirror could not be removed. And that's when it happened. The family dog suddenly barked at the wardrobe. She thought of something in an instant. She immediately asked Linda if the door to the secret room was on the other side of the wardrobe. After receiving an affirmative answer, the girl rushed over to try to move the glass, but the door wasn't there. The woman inside was pacing back and forth anxiously. She wanted to talk but couldn't. But after a few moments, she realizes something's wrong. She started trying to look in the bookcase next to her. She finally found a secret compartment on the top of the room, which was the lock. But just as she was about to open the door, she hesitated, because once the woman inside comes out, she'd be thrown out and lose her status as mistress of the house. The girl decided to hide the truth. At that moment, her husband returned. He asked her who she was talking to. No one. I was looking for a book. Inside, Linda was in tears, banging on the glass. She could only plead helplessly with the other. But it's all over now. The truth will be buried forever. The girl would be the new owner of the place once and for all. The next day, she'd put on new sheets and move all her things in. She threw out all of Linda's things. After a week, She filled the sink with water again. She wanted to see if Linda was still alive, but the water didn't ripple for a long time. So she filled it with hot water again and wrote a greeting on the glass, but the result was the same. She waited for half an hour with no response. The next day, her policeman friend sent her a file. It was a photo of a man and a strange girl. She realized that she had been deceived and that she and Linda were both poor people. After some hesitation, she decided to save Linda. After waiting for the man to go out, she took out the key and opened the door. But when she came in, the chamber had become a messy place. She didn't realize how bad it was. She couldn't imagine how Linda lived. The woman was lying on the bed, asleep. Just as she knelt down, Linda suddenly opened her eyes, grabbed the key and escaped. She also locked the door securely. Now the identities of the two women had been swapped. Afterwards, she didn't choose to take revenge on her husband but chose to leave. When the man returned, he only saw the key on the bed. There was a picture of the two of them on the mirror. The key was her hope for the girl. Whether she could get out depended on the man's ability to discover the secret room.